Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Football Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up. You are here with us every single Friday. We've got some of our staples here. We'll have Preston Guy coming up in 15 minutes. He, of course, from TigerBait.com. Got NFL Sunday to get you prepared for. I want to talk a little bit more about this LSU and Vanderbilt game, specifically Vanderbilt's offense, and then what LSU offensively has got to do to get things moving in the right direction. We'll certainly play take it or leave it. My final pick for LSU and Vanderbilt is coming up as well. So we are glad you are here. Let's get things rolling the same way we do each and every day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. All right, I have to start only one way here. I have to take a shovel and hammer home some crow, like lots of it, like an extra heaping size of crow. Because you have heard me for 3 weeks completely and utterly dismiss every report about Bryce Underwood taking a pile of cash from Michigan. I said it once, I said it twice, I said it 3 times. I said I didn't believe any of it. And 70% of that was blind homerism unintentionally, and 30% of that was just based on what we had heard the entire time and what we had seen from the recruit in his camp. Bryce Underwood and his camp said all the right things. They did all the right things on the surface. They came to Baton Rouge. They never visited anywhere else. He was here on an official visit. He was here on unofficial visits. He came and camped here. His Twitter and Instagram suggested he was all LSU. His family said, we're not making a financial decision here. We're making a fit and development decision here. The NFL will take care of things down the road financially. I'm taking all that at face value. I don't know Bryce Underwood. I don't know his parents. I don't know his lawyer. I don't know his agent. I just read what is reported. And I also read when Pete Nako says, hey, $10 million from Michigan. And then you don't really see any movement. And I thought, well, this is pretty simple. He's made his decision. And I'm certain that LSU is going to offer some money as well. I said what I thought. And I was dead, flat, wrong, and stupid. Because when that amount of money is involved, it always matters. This is a new world for us here as college football fans, for me as someone who covers college football. And money is not new in college football, but being able to publicly offer this much cash is new. And I may be wrong, but I don't think players were agreeing to $12 million deals 15 years ago. I could be wrong. Again, I wasn't there for that either. But I think that this was, the under-the-table money was probably less substantial because once you get to $12 million, that seems fairly easy to track. So this is a new world, and I whiffed. That's my bad. I whiffed. But now we have to talk about what the ramifications are of this decision that Bryce Underwood has made. This is very bad for LSU. It is. It is bad to lose the only quarterback in your class. It is bad to lose a 5-star quarterback. It is bad to lose the number 1 quarterback in the country a couple of weeks before signing day. That is bad. We don't know what Bryce Underwood's going to be. He might be Trevor Lawrence, star college quarterback, national champion, first pick in the draft. He might be Tim Tebow, one of the greatest players in the history of college football, who was a 5-star quarterback. He might be Bryce Young, who's the best quarterback in the history of Alabama and went first in the draft. He might be. The odds are that he's very good. He could be DJ Uiagalelei. He was a second-ranked player in the nation, 5-star recruit. He's played at 3 different colleges, isn't good at any of them. He might be Shea Patterson, was a top 5 player in the country. Played at 2 schools, mediocre quarterback. Everybody went nuts about Walker Howard coming to LSU and getting his commitment, and that didn't work out here or at Ole Miss. We don't know. He could be great. He could not be great. But the fact of the matter is you'd rather have him than not because his talent level is immense. Skill set's unbelievable. And your quarterback situation beyond Garrett Nussmeier and Bryce Underwood as of 24 hours ago is real iffy, to say the least. So this loss is very, very bad. But LSU can fix that part of it. Because every single year, there is Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward. There's Jackson Dart. There's Quinn Ewers. There's Jaden Daniels. Every year, big-time quarterbacks hit the market. LSU will find another quarterback. He might be a lot better than Bryce Underwood. He might be a little better than Bryce Underwood. He might be about the same. He might not even be close. But LSU will find another quarterback. The future of LSU football did not rest solely on the shoulders of Bryce Underwood. I promise you. They will field a team next year. They will field a team the year beyond that. And LSU will have a good quarterback in the near future. But this hurts, and it hurts worse because of the last 3 football games LSU has played. It is piling on. And I'll tell you, a month ago, people weren't solely focused on Bryce Underwood. People were thinking, we've got the best quarterback in the SEC. We beat Ole Miss. We beat South Carolina on the road. We've got a real chance to go to A&M. Now it's halftime. We got a real chance to do something great this year. That's what everyone was thinking about. And that has shifted over the last 3 weeks. And this hurts worse because of that. He became the White Knight because of the failures on the field the last 3 football games. And so coping with that is very difficult for an LSU fan. I get that. But LSU will get another quarterback, just like everybody else is field and transfer quarterbacks all the time. Now, what does it mean big picture for LSU recruiting? People say, LSU is done. They will never recruit at an elite level again. They don't have pockets as deep as Michigan and Texas A&M. The glory days are over. People will say that. I can't prove them wrong sitting here today. I can't. Here's my opinion. LSU still has some real advantages on a lot of schools in college football. This state bleeds purple and gold. That stadium is iconic and legendary. The recent history and the championships and the Heisman trophies that have been won here mean something. Saturday night in Death Valley is renowned across the nation. And there are a lot of good players that grow up in this state. And LSU is still going to get a lot of those kids. If Bryce Underwood had never committed to LSU and as a junior in high school had committed to Michigan and never visited LSU, and you had never heard of him because you don't pay attention to anybody that Michigan signs, you would look at this signing class and go, this is pretty good. They did a good job in the state. They got the number 1 running back in the nation. They've got commitments from 2 5-star cornerbacks to retool that secondary. They've got edge rushers. They've got offensive linemen. Maybe Carius Kern becomes a 5-star. You would look at this class if you had never heard of Bryce Underwood and say, this is pretty good. And I think LSU will recruit well moving forward in this era. Where LSU is going to have massive issues is going to Michigan for the number 1 player in the nation. Is going to California for the number 1 player in the nation. That's a water that LSU is not going to be able to swim in. Because as I wrote in my column for LouisianaSports.net yesterday, Michigan's endowment is $19 billion. LSU's is $1 billion. Michigan leaned on the owner and founder of Oracle. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Successful business people in Baton Rouge don't have that. Dave Portnoy doesn't have that. He is a minnow compared to some of the top in that Michigan machine. Now, a lot of those people have other interests, and have families and lineages, and Dave Portnoy just has a house in Florida and likes to bet on horses and has no problem dishing $10 million out to a bet or a quarterback. But that's not really the issue. LSU doesn't have enough whales and doesn't have enough fish to compete with that nationally. Now, they got into those waters with Bryce Underwood, and they almost got out alive, but they didn't. LSU is going to have trouble with that. And I think that hurts, but I don't think it's a death blow to the program. You can talk about this era of Brian Kelly, and we'll have that discussion for years. It'll continue. But LSU doesn't have pockets that deep. They still have pockets that can potentially land DJ Pickett, can go in there, flip a 5-star Texas commit at corner, lock down the state, and that's very, very important. But you ran up against the perfect storm here. A program that saw that it could get to the top of the mountain in Michigan. They did it last year. They know that's now possible. You could have doubted that 3 years ago when Harbaugh was kind of foundering and they hadn't won anything since 98, and you could have doubted it in Michigan. Well, now they know they can get to the top, and they know how quickly you can fall off if you don't spend money. And they're terrible this year. They can't complete a pass. They can't beat anybody. They're awful. Ohio State is going to beat them by 40. And that woke them up. And so you've now got the number one player in the nation who lives very far away from you, and now the home team is motivated and rich and did not take no for an answer. That is a perfect storm, and LSU was never going to weather that. Back to the initial point of this segment, my fault for not recognizing that. I'm an idiot. But I believe this is a bad, bad, bad thing for LSU to lose a talent like Bryce Underwood. I don't think it's a death blow to the program. I don't think it's an indication that LSU will never compete again. I think it hurts them in the very short term, but I think it's correctable because now you've got funds that were earmarked for that kid for 3 years that you can go to the transfer portal and find somebody else. And that's what they have to do. It would be nice for LSU if they could beat Vanderbilt and a terrible Oklahoma team next week and try to lift the spirits of that football program for 9 days. That would be nice. And then you have to find a way to keep the rest of these guys in this class. It's a bad day for LSU. It's an awful month for LSU. It is not going to send LSU into a 20-year death spiral. It just feels that way today. We'll see where they go. That's our Genesis opening drive here on this Football Friday. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. If you're watching the Tigers this week or you're heading out to tailgate, Cork's always a fantastic option. They have got great catering trays of crispy fried catfish, of jumbo Gulf shrimp, those shoestring fries, honey butter rolls. They got it all over there at Cork's. They're on Government between Foster and Jefferson. Go check them out for a late lunch today for tailgating, or if you want to feed the office for a holiday lunch, want to give everybody a treat there as we get into December and ready to close out the year. Cork's happy to feed your office as well. Just give them a little notice, and they are happy to do your catering. We'll come back. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. It is a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. How about some of these fantastic perks of being a Genesis driver? 10 years, 100,000-mile warranty. 10 years. It's a decade. You're under warranty. How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance? And not just that, valet complimentary maintenance. That means, hey, you got to get the oil changed, got to get those tires rotated, need to do with the cabin air filter, wiper blades, wiper fluid, all that kind of stuff. They can handle that. And you don't even have to go to the dealership. You go to work, they come to your office, they pick the car up, leave you with a Genesis, take your car to the dealership, handle the maintenance, bring it right back to you. You don't lift a finger. Couldn't be easier. It's all part of driving a Genesis from right here, Genesis of Baton Rouge. Their airline at PQ, just across from Women's Hospital. Start your process today online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2025 Ram 1500 truck with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off the newly designed Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Working towards the weekend. Hope it's been a good work week for you. Hope you're done with work for the week. If you're not, we'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Setting the stage for Sunday in the National Football League is next, but this time every week, talk to Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston, usually I ask you how you doing. Are you doing okay? Things are not great in LSU football land.
No, and look, I believe it's your personal 9/11 this weekend, so maybe pregame warm-ups is going to be a catastrophe for you. It's a rough time. Sometimes I question the career I picked, but ultimately I get to talk about sports and get paid for it. So that's always a win, no matter how much losing LSU is doing. This is a colossal meltdown right now between the 3 losses and losing Bryce Underwood. Hunt, I would say the last time there's been a fan meltdown like this would have to be 1-9-12, and then, of course, Gunnar Kiel 2 days later flipping to Notre Dame. That has to be the last time people were freaking out, except for back then there was still a confidence. Like, the team was still looking like it would be stacked in 2012, and I'm not sure that's the case for 2025 in LSU.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, how big a deal is Bryce Underwood? How big a deal is the landscape of recruiting for LSU nationally and even within the state? I mean, that's a lot to chew on, but just take it wherever you might.
I mean, it definitely is. I could take that 1,000 different directions. Losing Bryce Underwood is as big of a recruit as you could possibly lose. I suppose the only positive spin on that, the only way it could be bigger is if somehow he was a kid from Louisiana and that was beginning to mark a cultural shift, right? So I guess thank God for that. But other than that, I mean, we're talking about a kid you desperately needed to come in. You're talking about a coach who desperately needed him to win fan support, and now he's basically lost that type of fan support. And it's going to be tough for the coaching staff to rebound from this, simply from a fan support perspective, because you got to think fans right now basically can have the choice of, well, do I want to donate to LSU athletics and help to that buyout, or do I want to donate to your NIL collective and help this coach win? And that's why fan support matters way more than it really ever has. So it's tough from that angle to rebound from. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be the guy who's going to tell you Bryce Underwood's not that good. He's probably one of the better quarterback prospects to come out in recent memory. It's a rough one, man. And you look at the landscape of where LSU's at in recruiting. You know, it's like every recruiting battle you're seeing LSU lose with a big name guy. They're in it, and then they start talking about NIL money. And it seems like every time one of these NIL conversations comes up, LSU finds itself on the losing end, not willing to overcommit to a player that they frankly need. We think about that with DeCorian Moore. We're talking about that with Bryce Underwood. We were talking about that with defensive tackles in the portal. Are we going to be talking about that with Jakeem Stewart? And I think it opens an even broader question of, is LSU truly an elite program in the NIL era? Because what made LSU an elite program was that recruiting geography, which obviously still exists and still a big advantage for LSU. But is it as big of an advantage of having a robust NIL collective? And maybe LSU's got a good NIL, funding situation as a program, but is it truly elite? Because LSU's recruiting geography, I look at as one of three in the country where you truly own a talent-rich state. And that makes things way easier. And that's what's carried LSU as a program. That's why Les Miles and Ed Orgeron have championship rings on their finger. So I think it opens a broader conversation about would even firing Brian Kelly, let's say he's that incompetent of a coach, or is it something else that's a little more frightening to look at as an LSU fan? I don't know. I don't have that answer right now. I'm just saying you have to start thinking about it.
Certainly with Bryce Underwood, certainly with DeCorian Moore, absolutely those discussions are real. And with Dominic Williams as well in the portal from last year who ended up at Oklahoma. And that's fair. But I would also point to DJ Pickett. I would point to Harlan Berry. I would point to Cade Phillips. I would point to even Carius Kern, who's out of state. And LSU's class by on threes ranked 6th in the country. So is that still a sign that things are not quite as bad as people feel right now, losing 3 straight and having the number 1 player in the country bail on you?
I mean, you've been bringing in, classes that are top 5-ish, top 10-ish since Brian Kelly got here, and it hasn't manifested on the field. I think that you definitely need to bring in a quarterback of some sort. That being said, Hunt, today's not the day people want to hear positivity. They want to hear negative, Hunt.
I know.
We got to give the people what they want. But, yes, there is still some positive news, but we're all naive if we don't think that this coaching staff has to get to work to retain more of this recruiting class. In fact, most of us are expecting Derek Meadows to hop ship and join him at Michigan. He's basically decommitted, all but on paper, right? And you have to go forward and retain the rest of this class. You can't miss Jakeem Stewart because you're sad about Bryce Underwood. You can't let Harlan Berry flip and go somewhere else. You have to retain this class and keep things in place. That's 100% the mission of this coaching staff. And frankly, you got to win games next year. I think that with Bryce Underwood gone, the narrative of, well, this is going to be a rebuilding year. You've got all these freshmen coming back next year. Let's say you go 9-3, 8-4. Well, okay, but they're building. A lot of young guys are out there. Look, man, I mean, perception is reality for these fans, and the perception is that with Bryce Underwood gone, it's not that you're just waiting for him to grow up and develop. I think Brian Kelly, to win the fans back, has to go into the portal, bring in some impact players, not role players, impact players, and make the playoffs next year, or he might not get the chance to get the fans back on board.
It's an interesting time. It certainly feels a lot different than it did a month ago. It's crazy how quickly things can flip. Let's talk briefly about LSU and Vanderbilt tomorrow. Give me something you're looking for. Give me a thought on how you think things might go.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. These coaches need a win in a big kind of way. Yeah. They don't want that cherry on top of a loss to Vanderbilt. And no matter how good Vanderbilt is, that name means something. And to opposing coaches, it means embarrassment. You don't want to lose this game, especially in those yellow jerseys. We're going to have cursed yellow jerseys and cursed Omar the Tiger.
Yep.
In terms of the on the field, Diego Paiva, he's tough, man. That's a gritty athlete who executes his offense very well. That being said, he's not a dynamic runner like Jalen Milroe, right? He's sure he's fast, but he's a gritty, tough runner. And I think LSU's defense has certainly had trouble stopping that. You can't let him roll out and do his thing and just nickel and dime you all day. But more importantly, you got to execute in the red zone, man. You got to, when you get to the point where you're able to score the ball, you need touchdowns way more than you've been doing on this team. And if you settle for a field goal, you got to make them more consistently. It's sad because LSU is actually a pretty good offense, like in between the 20s, really in between the 30s, more broadly speaking. But it's just something about when it's time to go get your paycheck, they haven't been able to punch it in. I would love to see some improvement in that category.
What do you think about the environment tomorrow?
Man, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I thought it was going to be maybe 90K showing up. Program's in disarray, but, it's a night game at Tiger Stadium. It's an SEC game, winnable game for sure. You wouldn't want Georgia rolling up in here tomorrow with the way things are, right? But I don't know. I genuinely feel that this Bryce Underwood impact, it's being felt by people. The internet world and the real world are two different things a lot of times. But I'm noticing that it's being felt by people who don't even follow or care about recruiting. A lot of people have a sour taste in their mouth with this Bryce Underwood news. I wouldn't be surprised if that even has some impact on the atmosphere.
You think they win?
Hunt, I'm getting a little tired of picking them up to win every week with you. And then Monday, I'm looking dumb on my show every Monday night. Like, I thought they would win, but I really do think that this coaching staff needs this win in a big kind of way. They're going to roll up their sleeves and pull out their A game. And I think these players are going to play with pride. I look at it, when an interim coach comes in and takes over, and a lot of times he lights a fire under the program, kind of like what we're seeing with the Saints right now, and just excites people. But then after a while, it's almost like that type of situation where I think LSU players are going to play with more fire and passion than we've seen in a while. And I expect LSU to get the win. They still have a vastly more talented roster than Vanderbilt. There's no question in my mind about that. It's just about playing with that edge on you. And frankly, look, Vanderbilt, even as much as they showed, did catch Bama off guard. LSU, they are on alert as to how good Vanderbilt is. I think LSU takes the win, but who knows, man? Maybe we'll just continue to be wrong, and we'll be more embarrassed on Monday. Who knows?
Either way, Press will be talking about it on his YouTube channel over there at Tiger Bait every Monday. We're off next week for Thanksgiving, so we'll talk in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Preston.
See you, Hunt.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, with us every single Friday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. I was chatting a little earlier with Taylor Sharp in the room back there, and I set the over/under for attendance for tomorrow at 88,000. Still, it is an SEC game. The weather's going to be phenomenal, and I just don't think it's going to be half empty in there. I think that 88,000 leaves 15,000 empty seats. I think that's pretty fair for where we're going to be. I think you'll see sparse crowds in the upper, but I think otherwise it'll be pretty standard stuff for a Vanderbilt game. I mean, I think if you had Georgia or Texas A&M coming in here and bringing a lot of fans, that might change the equation a little bit. But I think for this game, I think you're probably looking at about 88,000. And it's going to be one of those deals where LSU's going to have to bring their own juice. They're going to have to bring their own energy. There's just not going to be a lot of buzz on campus. There's not going to be a lot of buzz in that stadium. So those guys are going to have to come and bring their energy. I told you all this week that I sensed a different feeling on Tuesday in player interviews. Not a team that had quit, and they certainly said all the right things, but just one of those deals where, to use like a bad cliche, like the light was kind of gone from their eyes. We still talked about SEC championship games, getting to the college football playoff. Like that was a topic of conversation after Texas A&M. It was a topic of conversation entering Alabama, after Alabama, and even going into the Florida game, because you knew that tiebreaker situation could break your way. Now you know that's gone, and the guys mentioned that, and they had that player-only meeting, and it's going to have to be a deal where LSU lights their own fire tomorrow inside Tiger Stadium. We'll see whether or not that happens. A lot of big-picture discussions going on here with the LSU football program. Get ready with 2 weeks left to go. So we appreciate Preston for a little bit of his time. When we come back, we'll get you set up for the NFL weekend to play. It's the Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Make LeBare's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters all season long. They got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine at ESPN Bet in person. I'll tell you this most days, but you can play blackjack in the sportsbook over at ESPN Bet inside LeBare's. They got a couple tables right there, televisions right there, bartenders are right there. It's a great place. If you don't like playing cards, you just want to watch some ball, you can do that too, because the screens are massive and they can play 4 or 5 games at one time. If you got a number of wagers going on or want to pay attention to a couple of games at once, you can do that inside ESPN Bet. And y'all been doing an awesome job all season long of downloading that Cover 5 app and competing against me and a lot of the listeners every single week, picking 5 SEC games against the spread. It's a cool contest. You pick against the spread, and depending on how much a team covers by, you get a number of points assigned to you. I've fallen off the face of the earth on it. I'm very much middle of the pack after a pretty good start. But you can compete against me with the promo code LABRSEC24 on the Cover 5 app. If you're not a member, just get the Pin Play app today. LeBare's Baton Rouge is your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Join us at Pro Dreams in Mandeville for our special event, A Day of Champions. Meet LSU National Championship winning head coaches Jay Johnson, Skip Bertman, and Paul Maneri. Don't miss your chance to purchase authentic sports memorabilia, autographed by the champions themselves. It's the perfect opportunity to celebrate LSU baseball and take home a piece of history. Visit pro-dreams.com to get your tickets. See you there.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Let's talk turkey. Bayou Ford can get you in a new 2024 Ford F-150 with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off America's favorite F-150 truck. All new Bayou.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, we'll get my SEC picks against the spread coming up in 25 minutes. A lot of action in the SEC because a lot of teams are out of conference here on quote-unquote cupcake week. LSU not out of conference. I'll take on Vanderbilt. I'll talk about the Vanderbilt's Commodores in hour number 2, and we'll get my final pick at the end of the show. Coming up, LSU in Pittsburgh, underway from the Greenbrier up there in West Virginia. Big test for Matt McMahon and his team against Pittsburgh. Just a really good opportunity here this weekend against what will be two good teams no matter what the results are. Certainly Pitt's a really quality team today. And then on Sunday, you'll either see Wisconsin, who is a ranked team, or you'll see Central Florida, who beat Texas A&M in the season opener. So it's a really good opportunity for LSU here. I do see that Robert Miller did get the start at the 4. I wrote in my preview piece over at LouisianaSports.net, maybe you might see Damian Collins in that spot, who's maybe giving LSU a little bit more production at that 4 spot. I can tell you that it's a really small gym that they're playing in there at the Greenbrier. You're talking about like 10 seats, 10 rows above each bench. And so Pitt does not have a huge contingent there. It's not going to be some sort of big road environment for the Tigers. So we'll keep you posted on those scores as they happen before we get out of here at 3 o'clock. But right now, let's get you set up for NFL Sunday with our tier list. All right, this week is not good. It's not a good tier list. Nothing is in Tier 1, and there is substantial action in Tiers 3 and 4, which is, of course, the worst of the weekend. But it's NFL football nonetheless, so let's get started. The Patriots are at the Dolphins. This is in Tier 4. Interestingly enough, the Patriots are a 7.5-point underdog in this game. They have won their last 2 games as a 6+ point dog. Last one was against the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. We'll see if they can go to Miami and beat the Dolphins. The Buccaneers are at the Giants. Sans Daniel Jones. He's cut, so we'll see if he's even watching. Daniel, it's Tier 4. You don't have to watch the Giants this week. Mike Evans will be watching. He'll actually be playing. He returns to the lineup for Tampa Bay. He needs to average 95 yards per game to get to 1,000 yards. He's had 1,000 yards in every season of his NFL career. Missed some time due to injury. That's going to be a tall task for Mike Evans, but could be a good start against the Giants this weekend, who are not very good. And then the last one in Tier 4, the Chiefs are at the Panthers, one of the best teams in the league, maybe the worst team in the league, but the Panthers have won 2 straight. A win here would be their longest winning streak in 5 years. 3 would be their longest winning streak in 5 years. The Chiefs might get Isaiah Pacheco back, something to watch for their late season run. All right, into Tier 3. Not great, but okay. The Vikings are at the Bears. Chicago has lost 4 straight games, and they have the toughest schedule left. Matt Eberflus has no chance of keeping his job. Sam Darnold, who started off great this year, has had multiple turnovers in the last 4 games this year. And the Vikings are 4-0. They are winning in spite of Sam Darnold at this point. The Lions are at the Colts. Detroit has won 8 in a row, and they're 5-0 on the road this season. Lions have also won 4 games this year where they have scored more touchdowns than thrown incompletions. That is how good Detroit is playing at this point. They go to Indianapolis to play a team that kind of lacking an identity. Cowboys are at the Commanders. Cowboys facing Dan Quinn, their former defensive coordinator. Dallas 0-5 against the spread in their last 5. That's the longest streak for them since 2020. The Titans are at the Texans. The Titans are the 3rd team since 2000 to start 1-9 against the spread. If you've been betting against Tennessee, you've been cashing tickets. They are very much in the running for the number 1 overall pick in the draft. They go to Houston, where the Texans look to be really good. The Broncos are at the Raiders. Bo Nix is coming off his best game as a pro, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns at Atlanta. The Raiders have the worst running game in the NFL and their top two backs are not going to play. That's, of course, Alexander Mattison and Zamir White. So I like the Broncos' chances to go to the desert and win. This is the best football we've got all Sunday because this is Tier 2, and there is nothing in Tier 1. 49ers are at the Packers. This is a good game, but San Francisco is still 5-5. Bosa is questionable for the 49ers, and San Francisco can't really rush the passer without him. Jordan Love is playing great football. Last week, on passes that traveled 15-plus yards, he was 6 for 6. That is some good quarterbacking there for Jordan Love. The Cardinals playing great football. They're at Seattle. Cardinals have won 4 straight just coming off their bye week. If they beat Seattle to go to 7-4 and San Francisco loses at Green Bay, they are very, very much in the driver's seat for the NFC West. I don't think anybody had the Cardinals winning that division. That's very interesting stuff there. And then Sunday Night Football is in Tier 2. It's the Eagles at the Rams. The Eagles have 150 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns in 5 straight games, which doesn't sound that great to me. Like, it's a good effort, 150 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns in 5 straight games. It's the longest streak since the Bengals did it in 1988. I was born in 1988. Nobody's done this since I was born. Eagles could stretch it to 6 with 150 more yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday night against the L.A. Rams. That is your look at the NFL slate coming up on Sunday. Beck, does any of that pique your interest? I don't have anything in Tier 1.
Well, wait, so is the Ravens-Chargers not considered this week?
Did I miss Ravens-Chargers?
They play Monday.
No, I don't do Monday.
Okay, you don't do Monday. I was going to say
Sunday.
that would have been a Tier 1 game.
That is definitely Tier 1.
And to your point about how bad this slate is, that would have been the only game with 2 teams that had better than 500 records.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of like good teams against terrible teams. Yeah. Chiefs, Panthers. I mean,
there's
Texans, Titans, Commanders, Cowboys, Lions, Colts.
There's not
Vikings, Bears.
There's not a single game with 2 teams that have a winning record.
That's bizarre, and I think it also it's crazy, but and I still bet we'll show up on Monday to talk about some of the things, and there will be some wild stuff.
Yes,
like
there will be.
Survivor leagues are about done at this point. Well, they should be done at this point. If you've gotten this far, then you're pretty salty at Survivor leagues. But something wild will happen. I'm starting to sense like a kind of pickup on this NFL slate that like I just feel like the Lions are a lot better than everybody. Like if the Lions and Chiefs played in Nashville, who would you take?
I think I'd take the Lions, and the Lions would probably be like a 3 or 4 point favorite.
I mean, they're way good. And it's just crazy that Goff has ascended to that level. That stat I gave on them in this thing where they've had 4 games, like once, 4 times they have scored more touchdowns than thrown in completions.
Yeah.
You can't be that efficient in the
NFL.
NFL.
No, and the fact that they had a game in which he threw 5 interceptions and they still won.
Yeah.
It's incredible stuff.
Dan Campbell has got to be, I wonder what his mindset is right now, because on one hand, and this is probably where he is, just kind of reading his persona in press conferences, it's probably like, we've got a great team, like, let's go win the Super Bowl. But on the other hand, he has to have, like, a whole drawer full of coordinator names. Because Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are toast after this year. They're leaving Detroit. And, like, overhauling that is a tough gig. But if you've got a general manager that's done a good job, which I couldn't tell you who the Lions general manager is, but they got a great team, so I'm sure he's doing great. You feel like you can keep the culture, but you've got to overhaul systems, because it's like Dan Campbell's got a system. He's a tight ends coach. he's the rah guy and the leader of the pack, and he's gonna have to overhaul things pretty significantly probably in February. But it's a good problem to have, I guess. Beats where a lot of teams in the NFL are at this point. So
I got a quick update on the LSU game. I watched the first possession, and guess who got the ball?
Guess who got, like, what team or what
player?
No,
like who did LSU give the ball to on their first offensive possession?
Cam Carter.
Nope. Jalen Reed. And he scored.
Oh, good.
He made a move to the hoop and made a little
I've got
shot.
it on, but I'm trying to do the segment.
Yeah,
and
not easy to
do
them at the same time.
But I got it, and of course now I'm about to go into a break and it's commercial, so it is what it is. When we come back, there's a name that was mentioned for the Saints head coaching position. We've got a story up at LouisianaSports.net on it. I kind of like it. We'll tell you who it is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. EvolvePT.com is the website. If you are not able to be your active self, whether that's because you've been injured, whether that's because you've had a surgery, whatever the reason may be, but you're trying to regain strength or get rid of pain so that you can move forward being your active self, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports is your answer. A lot of people don't know this. You get hurt and you're just taking advice from everybody and you think you have to go this place or that place for your rehabilitation. That's not the case. You get to pick where you go for your rehab. Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports needs to be your pick. They've got an incredible crew of certified physical therapists that are going to be hands-on with you from start to finish. They're going to make sure you're making progress so that you can get back on the pickleball court, you can get back on the golf course, you can get back to playing with the kids, back to exercising every day. If those are things you're missing right now because of pain, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports is where you need to be. You can check them out online, evolvept.com. They're on Starring near Highland Road. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports.
Let's talk turkey. Bayou Ford can get you in a new 2024 Ford F-150 with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off America's favorite F-150 truck. All new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
The best.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
All right, closing up hour number 1 here on a Football Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. I wanted to spend some time here talking about a potential head coaching candidate for the New Orleans Saints that our guy Ross Jackson wrote about over at LouisianaSports.net. Ross has done a great job kind of staying on top of everything Saints coaching search related, even though they're not in the throes of it. When something pops up, he's always good to give an opinion on such things. And NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero talked about young coaches to look for in the next carousel, and the Saints are going to be involved in that, obviously. And one of the names that surfaced was Jesse Minter. Jesse Minter was the defensive coordinator at Michigan last couple of years when their defense was phenomenal, a national championship defense that was just churning guys out into the NFL, and those guys are having a lot of success in the NFL at this point. And Jim Harbaugh took him to Los Angeles to be the defensive coordinator of the Chargers, and those results have picked up right where they left off at Michigan. You're talking about a guy in Jesse Minter who had the number one defense across a lot of major categories at Michigan, and now the Chargers number one in the NFL in points allowed, as well as some other statistics. They've played exceptional defense. It's not taken really any time at all for Jim Harbaugh to implement that aggressive running game, time of possession, smothering defense, and it works in the Big Ten, and it's working right now in the AFC West. And I think this sounds great to me. Jesse Minter has spent time with Jim Harbaugh. He knows how that operates at a college level and now at the NFL level. He worked for John Harbaugh and the Ravens from 2017, 2020. I think that's a pretty good organization to get a feel for. He's never been a head coach, and that's a chance that you can take. But I'm not someone here who sits here and looks at this Saints job and says, you have to go get a young offensive coach. I think it would be good if they got a young offensive coach. I think Ben Johnson would be a great hire for the New Orleans Saints. I think that some guys off of that tree with that system that they would bring to New Orleans and implement and keep no matter who the position coaches and coordinators were would be a very good thing. But I'm not one that says you have to zig when you've been zagging. We know that that the Saints have had Dennis Allen running the show and the defense. So the thought is when you hire a new coach, after firing that one, you have to go the opposite direction. So instead of going with the grizzled veteran defensive retread, you go with a young upstart offensive guy. I'm not someone who thinks that way. I want the right guy. I do like this. I like to have a guy with expertise and a system on one side of the ball. It certainly works other ways. It has worked with Dan Campbell in Detroit. He doesn't have an expertise on one side of the ball. He's a tight end. He doesn't have a system. It has worked brilliantly in Baltimore with John Harbaugh, who's a special teams coach. And you can go to the college level and talk about Dabo Swinney, and he did a great job, and he was a receivers coach. So it can work any different way. I can find examples of anything. I'm just telling you my preference is a guy that controls one side of the football because that never leaves. It's just hard when you are a head coach that doesn't have a system necessarily, that is constantly having to rehire coordinators and change things. And so to me, that would be a priority. Not something that you have to do, but it would be a priority. And Minter offers that. By all accounts, folks that have worked with him, that have covered him, say he's an incredible communicator. I think that's very, very important. And while I think Dennis Allen's a really bright guy, I think that message may have rung hollow a little bit. Maybe that was because of the results on the field. I'm not really sure. I don't cover the Saints day to day, so I can't be certain. But I just think a guy that is a really effective communicator, and he's shown he can do it with 18, 19, 20-year-old young men. He can do it with professionals. He's gotten the same results. I think this makes a ton of sense. And I think that this is a reality. Well, reality is too strong a word. A probability that the Saints may not get their first choice here because the Saints' job is not as desirable as some of the ones that are likely to come open or that have already come open. Like the Jets are a mess, but that is in New York, and they have a ton of salary cap room and a good defense. The Bears have a ton of salary cap room and a rookie quarterback who's very talented. That job's going to come open. Those situations feel better than a Saints situation with an aging quarterback who's not uber productive and an awful salary cap situation. So the Saints may end up having to hire someone who's a couple of pegs down the list. And that's where you might find someone like Jesse Minter. I think this makes a ton of sense, and I would be very, very much for that hire if the Saints went that direction. Again, Aaron Glenn makes a lot of sense to me, even though he comes from the Peyton Allen tree. I think that going to the same organization and going to the other side and grabbing Ben Johnson would make a ton of sense. Joe Brady's name's been tossed about, and he's obviously got that situation humming with Josh Allen in Buffalo. But I'm a little bit weary of the Joe Burrow, Josh Allen bump that Brady may be getting over his time in the spotlight. But good players are necessary. But I think that Minter is someone that I'm pro. And I think that's something that we're going to be doing over the next month, 2 months. I think 2 months is where we're looking for the Saints to hire a coach, probably late January. And to me, as we start to get names floated, I'll give you a thumbs up, thumbs down. What is that worth? not the not the YouTube stream that it's on. But that's why we're here. And so if this is a name that the Saints were interested in looking at, I would absolutely be all for Jesse Minters. He's a proven commodity on one side of the ball, and I think could do a great job in New Orleans. If you're looking for Saints coverage, you can always find it on our YouTube channel, Hunt on Saints. That's also available wherever you find podcasts. So if you don't necessarily love firing up YouTube all the time, you'd rather listen to it on one of the apps that you use your podcasts on, Hunt on Saints is right there on your podcast stream. So go ahead and check that out. Subscribe to the channel and like it. We'd appreciate that very, very much. We're going to pause, step aside, and when we come back, my SEC picks against the spread. A lot of games. We got to bounce back. It was a real rough week last week. There's 2 weeks to go. We got to finish above 500. It's got to start this week, plus some more LSU Vanderbilt talk when we come back. Come back after Sports Center. You're listening to a Friday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show presented by Corp.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, avssla.com is the website. We don't spend a ton of time out in the backyard in the summer because it's like 104. Maybe if you got the pool, that does help. But fall, winter is a great time to get outside and spend some time in your outdoor setup. If you'd like to have some speakers that provide incredible sound that you can control from the push of a button on your phone with the app, Audio Video Security Solutions can absolutely help you with that. The Palmers spend a lot of time in the backyard because the Myers man just wants to go play baseball. That's all I hear all day, every day. When that doesn't happen, we get a fit. Well, we don't want a fit, so we go play baseball. And I always crank up some music, crank up a podcast as well. And it's because of the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. Give Mitchell Fisher a call at 225-439-7920. That is his cell phone number. He's happy to hear from you. He'll be your point man to get everything done. And the customer service after the sale is fantastic as well. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. Find them online, avssla.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2025 Ram 1500 truck with $15,000 off MSRP. $15,000 off the newly designed Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The Giants cut quarterback Daniel Jones today. He'll go through waivers, but it's unlikely that another team will pick up the rest of his 4-year, $160 million contract. So what are Jones's options? ESPN's Mina Kimes.
One is to play for a team that desperately needs a quarterback. The one that everyone's got their eye on is, of course, the Dallas Cowboys, who are playing the Giants on Thanksgiving, which would honestly make that game infinitely more entertaining, so I wouldn't mind that outcome personally. The Raiders also are another team that's obviously been in a bit of a spin cycle with their quarterbacks.
Mina Kimes, who also says Jones could choose to join a contending team as a backup. Buccaneers coach Todd Bowles says wideout Mike Evans will play Sunday against the Giants. He's missed the last 3 games with a strained hamstring. Commanders corner Marshawn Lattimore will miss his 3rd straight game since coming to Washington in a trade with the Saints. He has a hamstring injury. SMU football coach Rhett Lashley signs a contract extension. The Mustangs are 9-1. They're 13th in the college football playoff rankings.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Cannon. Coming up Monday, I'll recap a huge football weekend with games filled with playoff implications during my Upon Further Review at 7 a.m. Eastern. It's Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2. Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Hopefully that work week is in the rear view mirror. If not, we'll get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Still got After Further Review coming up an hour from right now. Matt will be with you from 3 to 6. And Cade Wassan will be with you at 6 o'clock for Louisiana Prep Preview, getting you set up for all of the high school football action around the state. Catholic High playing East Jefferson tonight. We'll have that call for you on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And after it goes final, 10 o'clock, Louisiana Prep Scoreboard. All the scores from around the state of Louisiana. So lock Cade and the guys in tonight, late night, for all your high school coverage. LSU and Pitt underway from the Greenbrier up in West Virginia. Pitt leads LSU 18-16 with 8 minutes and 10 seconds to play in the first half. I can say this confidently. I have watched LSU play in a ton of tournaments over the years. The Maui Invitational, Myrtle Beach, the Bahamas. I've watched a lot of tournaments in my day for LSU. This is as bad a setup as I've seen for a gym. This is legitimately in a ballroom that looks like a school auditorium. They've got a little auditorium set up there where people are up on bleachers. I can see in the background of my shot right now the carpet of the ballroom that they've laid the floor down on top of, and people were just sitting in little chairs around it. It's a makeshift operation at the Greenbrier, but it's a heck of a matchup between LSU and Pitt. So we'll see if the Tigers can stay competitive here and find a way to get it done at the end. Pitt's got a 3 in the air, and that is not going to go. LSU now down 5 with 7.5 minutes to play in the first half. So let's talk some football. LSU Vanderbilt talk here in 15 minutes. Still got to play take it or leave it, and then my final pick for LSU and the Doors. But we start the second hour each and every week with my SEC football picks against the spread. All right, a lot of games to get to. Let's crank it up. 11 o'clock in the morning. Interesting when Ole Miss is at Florida. Ole Miss a 12.5-point favorite in this one. Lane Kiffin 15-2 as a road favorite over the last 6 years. We know Florida wants to run the ball. That's what they want to do, especially with a hobbled DJ Lagway. Ole Miss is second in the nation in run defense. They are first in the nation in yards per carry allowed. That is a physical and mean front. Georgia could not move them off the line of scrimmage at all. I don't think Florida's defense is very good either. I know what we watched last week. Still, I'm just not sold on Florida's playmaking ability. They don't have any defensive backs. Their number one linebacker was out last week. I think Ole Miss goes to the swamp and rolls. I think it's going to be a good environment there. I think Florida will play hard. I think Ole Miss is way better. I'll lay the 12.5 points with the Rebels in that one at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. 11:45, UMass is at Georgia. Dogs are a 42-point favorite. UMass fired the coach this week. Dan Brown is out. Guess what, interim head coach, whose name I'm not going to learn? You got to go play Georgia in your first game. UMass did play an SEC game earlier. They hosted Missouri and lost 42-3. The Minutemen are 116th of 134 teams in scoring offense. Incidentally, just a side note, Florida State has the worst scoring offense in college football, 134th. That's wild to me. But UMass is not a lot better. Georgia, I think, names their score here. Give me the Dogs minus 42. UTEP is at the Vols. 40.5 is the number here. UTEP scored 10 points on Louisiana Tech, who's 4-6. UTEP scored 13 points on Middle Tennessee, who is 3-7. I don't think they're going to score any points. Tennessee's in a beauty contest. They don't have time to mess around, play around. They're right on the bubble there. Plus, they got beat last week. Give me the Vols minus 40. This has got 63-3 written all over it. I will lay 40.5 with glee. Kentucky is at Texas. 20 is the number in this for an SEC game. Mark Stoops is 4-11 against the spread off of a bye. Kentucky is 1-6 off its last 7 byes. Those losses are by an average of 15 points. However, Texas just kind of been okay against Vanderbilt, against Arkansas. Like, not an impressive effort. They beat Florida with a 14th-string quarterback. Outside of that, not that great. I'll take Kentucky to hang around. I'll take the 20 points in this one at DKR. Give me the Cats. 3 o'clock, Wofford is at South Carolina. Wofford has not played a Power 4 game this year. South Carolina's playing awesome. They have won 4 straight games. In those 4 games, Lenora Sellers, 10 touchdown passes, 1 interception. However, South Carolina's been keyed up for 4 weeks in a row. Now little old Wofford's coming into town. 42.5. I'll take 42.5 with Wofford. I think this is a letdown spot for Shane Beamer and the South Carolina Gamecocks. 3 o'clock from up on the hill in Fayetteville. Louisiana Tech travels north from Ruston to take on the Hogs. 22 is the number here. Louisiana Tech can't score. Louisiana Tech scored 12 on Western Kentucky. They scored 3 on Sam Houston. They scored 14 on UTEP. Arkansas's got 5 wins. They need 1 more to get to a bowl game. I need the Arkansas offense that scored 58 on Mississippi State and 31 Ole Miss. I do not need the Arkansas offense that scored 10 on LSU and 10 on Texas. I think I'm going to get it. I think I'm going to get Taylor Green healthy. I think I'm going to get the Hogs rolling Louisiana Tech, who has no offensive ability whatsoever. Give me Arkansas minus the 22. Missouri's at Mississippi State. Mississippi State catching 8 points here at Davis Wade. Mississippi State 128th out of 124 in total defense. That's not good. 119th in scoring defense. They are allowing 41 points per game in SEC games. Missouri, with Brady Cook, scored 30 points at South Carolina last week. That's very good. Missouri's defense, not that good. They gave up 34 points to Lenora Sellers. Gave up 5 TD passes to Lenora Sellers. They let Oklahoma score 23. Oklahoma's awful on offense. This is one more, Coach Levy. One more time. +8, Mississippi State.
I yet again had this penciled in. I knew you were going to go with Missouri.
My hand is on the stove.
You just hate Missouri so much.
My hand is on the stove with Mississippi State. I think it's more of a Mississippi State play.
You said it was 8?
8 points. Alabama's at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's catching 13.5. In the last 3 weeks, Oklahoma has played 1 good half against Ole Miss. They beat Maine, and they lost a 1-score game at Missouri. So maybe they're playing a little bit better. Bama has won its last 3. They're definitely playing better. They beat Missouri, LSU, and Mercer 128-20. Oklahoma has been decent against the run, number 4 in the SEC. But listen to these numbers for Oklahoma offensively. 15th in the conference of 16 teams in scoring offense, 14th in rushing offense, 16th in passing offense. They've got to score some points, and I just don't know if they're going to do it. I'm going to lay the 13.5 with Alabama on the road at Norman. And then A&M and Auburn, the nightcap at 6:30. 2.5 is the number here. Auburn catching just 2.5 at Jordan-Hare. Texas A&M 2-10 in their last 12 road games. We know a lot of that's Jimbo Fisher. Since 2019, Auburn is 1-10 outright as a home dog. When they're a dog at home, they don't play very well, or so the trend says. This is important. Auburn has not turned the ball over as much lately. Peyton Thorne is actually taking care of it over the last month. We know the first month was terrible. I've been picking A&M a lot. I'm not this week. Give me Auburn plus the 2.5. I think they might win this game outright. I've kind of been saying all year that I don't think they're quite as bad as their record, but their record is terrible. I will take Auburn.
This is a stinky line to me.
It is. Give me the Auburn Tigers. So that's my look at the SEC. Ole Miss minus 12.5. Georgia minus 42.5. Vols minus 40.5. Kentucky plus 20. Wofford plus 42.5. Hogs minus 22. Mississippi State plus 8.5. Bama minus 13.5. And Auburn plus 2 and a hook. Beck, is that a perfect slate of picks, which is 9 games?
Considering you have yet to go undefeated in any of your picks during the week, I'm going to say no, it's not perfect.
That's a stupid thing to say.
Unfortunately, I mean, look, let's just be honest here. The best week you ever had was when you did the Costanza picks. So
this is true, which is disappointing. This is like big stakes because if this is a bad week and we dip under 500 and we have 2 bad weeks in a row, we might have to Costanza rivalry weekend.
Yeah.
We really don't want to do that.
Might have to.
We want to stick with the smart brain here.
We do,
and not
but
go to the Costanzas.
If we have to pull out all the stops to get back to,
I have to get over 500. And right now, I'm right on the number.
Yep.
This is wild. I mean, I'm cracking up internally because last year 1 game over 500. This year exactly 500. That's basically 2 full seasons of picking every game. And there's just been no deviation from the mean.
Impressive.
It's just been right in the middle.
Really impressive stuff.
Which is probably the way it's supposed to be because they're literally 50-50 shots. And I'm not very good at it. So we'll see. Is there a pick that you absolutely hated that I made?
I don't love the Wofford pick.
The Terriers. Did you see their baseball team? They bunt a lot, steal, hit and run. That's tough team.
Unfortunately, they're not very good at football. And South Carolina is... I mean, they are coming off a win over. They're coming off. They've won 4 in a row.
Missouri.
They beat Missouri.
They crushed A&M.
Yeah. So I can see maybe, but like they beat Akron earlier in the season, 50-7. So I would say Wofford's probably not as good as Akron.
50-7 is almost a cover.
It is, but I feel like South Carolina is going to go for some style points here and really try to impose their.
I have conceded that South Carolina's got a very good football team. Did you see Shane Beamer this week throwing shade at Juice Wells?
Yeah, that was good.
Did you catch that? For those that missed it, Shane Beamer. This is after Lenora Sellers threw 5 touchdowns, and as I mentioned in the stats, he's thrown 10 touchdowns and 1 pick over the last 4 games. They've won all 4. Been really, really good. And Shane Beamer said in his press conference that, one guy that left this past offseason said, "Coach, I don't think we have a quarterback." And clearly that's Juice Wells. None of the other wide receivers are of note. So that was clearly Juice Wells. And he's saying, but I think Juice Wells is probably okay because he's probably going to the playoffs.
Yeah, probably so.
Although I need him to cover 12.5 in the Swamp.
That's the one too. We talked about it yesterday. I'm kind of leaning. I'm kind of liking the Florida play here. I'm kind of liking it.
I don't hate that. Interesting. As we're about to go to break here, LSU trails by 5. Damian Collins headed the free throw line. 3:52 to play in the first half. Bob Huggins is at this game in in the classic West Virginia pullover. Back in the day where everybody was wearing suits, he was in the pullover.
He was always in the pullover.
He was really ahead of the curve.
He was.
Unfortunately, just couldn't find the number to dial an Uber, which is disappointing. So
Not
he
great.
no longer had. Oh no, that wasn't. It was that he cussed on the air.
Yeah, he was on that radio show.
He used some slurs on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like back-to-back times. Just don't do that.
No.
Just don't. All right. LSU trails by 3 in the waning minutes of the first half. We'll keep you updated on that. When we come back, LSU and Vanderbilt. We'll talk. I want to talk about Vanderbilt statistically because it's a fascinating stat sheet and really illustrates that they have one way to win, and they do a pretty good job of sticking to script. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. They can do full-scale bathroom renovation. So if you just want to tear it up and start from nothing, David Duvall and his team are happy to help you with that. And it'll be the only call you make. You don't have to call multiple contractors and have multiple people come and take a look and do their job. You just call David Duvall and his team. Soup to nuts, as he said. They do the entirety of your project, and you're going to be thrilled with the results. Go look at the pictures on the website, onebathandclosets.com. They've got great images of the fantastic work that they do. But you don't have to do the full-scale, whole meal deal. You can do something easy, like a tub-to-shower conversion as well. They are happy to help you with that. And if you're concerned with payment, financing options, very much available. 0% for 18 months if you qualify for it. So check them out online. Get that free consultation starting today. It's One Bath and Closets. They're online at onebathandclosets.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, LSU and Vanderbilt tomorrow. I got asked in the hallway this morning what time the game was, and I went, I don't remember. There are so many game times rattling around in my brain that I don't even know what time LSU and Vanderbilt play. 6:45 is the scheduled time. It's actually going to kick off at 6:55. Just a little hint for those of you out there. It's going to be a night game inside Tiger Stadium. I don't know that the environment's going to be awesome, but I was really interested in the stat sheet with Vanderbilt. And every Monday, I take all the statistics and I put them down in front of me, and I go through and I mark the positives for a team and I mark the negatives for a team. And I don't recall in doing that seeing an identity so pronounced in a team as I do with Vanderbilt. They've only got one way to get this done. And we talked to Andrew Allegretti yesterday, and he alluded to it, but didn't put any statistics behind it. He just kind of gave a sense of what Vanderbilt's identity is. What I'm about to read off to you does not at all sound like a team that beat Alabama, that beat Virginia Tech, that controlled Kentucky, that played right up to the whistle with Texas. I mean, this is not like every once in a while or one time they came out with a great performance. They do this every week. South Carolina handed it to them. Georgia State got after him too. But the majority of the time, Vanderbilt's really competitive. And they're really competitive with these numbers on offense. 11th in, this is of the 16-team SEC. 11th in scoring offense. 15th in total offense. They're the second worst total offense in the conference. 13th in rushing. 15th in yards per carry. You think of Vanderbilt, they run the ball really well. They're 15th in yards per carry. That's awful. There's only one team worse. Explosive runs, 14th. Well, how about the passing offense? 14th. Passing attempts, they don't even try, 16th. Explosive passes, 15th. Yards per play, They don't run very many plays, so maybe their yards per play is better because there's not as many plays. No, they're 14th in the league. All these numbers are bottom 4, 5, or 6 in the league, except for 3. There are 3 numbers of note with Vanderbilt. On third down, they are 3rd in the league. Time of possession, which makes sense, 3rd in the league. Because if you convert a lot of third downs, you keep the football, you control time of possession. And then you've got to get into the red zone, and they're 5th in the league, which is not jaw-dropping, but it's efficient. That's Vanderbilt's only ticket here. All they can do is try to run it, get it into 3rd and 1, maybe a 4th and 1 here or there, trust Diego Pavia to make a play, and hope they keep the ball. They don't make explosives. They don't fool people with big plays down the field. They're not an efficient running game. They're 13th in the league in rushing offense and almost last in yards per carry. But they stick to what they do. And what they do is run that triple option based run game, trust Pavia to do a little schoolyard stuff, and then make sure he doesn't turn it over and get points in the red zone. And they've done a really good job of that. Y'all remember the Alabama game? They held the ball for 40 minutes. If they couldn't convert a 3rd and 3, they went for it on 4th down. And Vanderbilt's got nothing to lose. They're at this point riding an emotional high. They're going to come into Tiger Stadium, one of the biggest venues in the whole sport. They're not going to play scared. 4th and 2, who cares if we don't get it? We'll go for that. Got a quarterback who knows what he's doing back there. But it's the only way they can do it. It doesn't look good on paper at all. Well, how's the defense then? Is that great? Clark Lee, defensive coach, defensive coordinator of the team, how's he done? Well, in scoring defense in the SEC, they're 11th. Total defense, they're 12th. Rushing defense, middle of the pack, 8th. Yards per carry allowed, 12th. Not good. Pass defense, 12th. Opposing completion percentage, how well teams complete passes against them, 15th. Are they any good on 3rd down? No, 15th. Do they get a lot of sacks? No, 10th. TFLs? No, 9th. Do they give up explosive plays? Yes. They're 14th in the league. Give up explosive passes, 20 yards plus, 15th in the league. Do they stop teams in the red zone? Is that how they do it? No, they don't. 14th in the league in red zone touchdown percentage. Did they force a bunch of turnovers? No. They're 12th in the league. None of these numbers are any good. That's why when I was talking to Andrew Allegretti yesterday, I said the defense appears to me to be better than the sum of its parts because statistically, I don't see a lot here. And I don't know of any Vanderbilt players that are going in the 1st or 2nd round on defense. Well, what are they good at on defense? Well, this is not defense. It's offense and defense. They're the least penalized team in the SEC, 5.4 per game. This is not a Vanderbilt team that does anything to hurt you. They're just steady. And my question is LSU ready at this point to show up, to create some energy, to run the ball, to be explosive in the passing game, which everyone else is against Vanderbilt, to score points in the red zone, and take care of a team that you have more talent than? Or do you let a team that's riding on an emotional high, that is reaching levels that they did not imagine they could have reached in August, that brings the fight to you, that dictates the control of the game, that handles the ball for 38 or 40 minutes, that sucks the life out of you, and that beats you? Because let me tell you, if LSU doesn't show up with a lot of emotion tomorrow, there is nothing that takes that tiny bit of emotion away more quickly than Vanderbilt going on a 16-play drive, running a bunch of triple option stuff, gaining 4 yards a pop. That'll bore the crowd. That'll frustrate the crowd. That'll bore the defense. It'll frustrate the defense. And if you let Vanderbilt play their game, that's a scary thought. It's a scary thought. There are times where you might want a rival coming in here or a team that grabs some headlines coming here to create a little bit of juice. Vanderbilt is the freaking opposite. They've been the punching bag of this league for decades. And the players know that on LSU's side. But they may be a punching bag, but they're going to be an angry one tomorrow. They're going to be a fired up one tomorrow. LSU's got to meet that fight. And I sensed a team that was really disheartened on Tuesday. I don't think yesterday's stuff helped. They better find something, because this is the type of team that can lull you to sleep. I've talked a lot about, or I've heard Gordy Rush talk a lot about going to play at Northwestern when he was in the Big Ten. And I've heard people talk about going to play at Vanderbilt in not a year like this, in a different year, where it's just a sleepy environment. And that can be startling. And I wonder if this is like the perfect storm that LSU is trying to deal with, of a program in a malaise over the last month, a team that's lost all its goals, and then the team that is nobody's better at lulling you to sleep than Vanderbilt. Maybe Diego Pavia creating one of these exciting, explosive situations is the most juice that they can bring. Maybe the gold uniforms that LSU is going to wear are going to bring the juice. But somebody's got to create that. And maybe just LSU making a couple of big plays early can do that. I mean, I'm rattling off a bunch of statistics there, but I'll go back to the one that matters there. Like, only one team in the conference gives up more passes of 20 yards than Vanderbilt does. And oh, by the way, Vanderbilt is really good at time of possession, so teams are running fewer plays against them, and they still give up that many explosives. I commend Clark Lee for his coaching job and his ability to get a team that has statistically been bad, and then on Saturday consistently being not bad. And you look at the way they played Alabama, the way they played Texas, the way they played Virginia Tech, the way they played Kentucky, the way they played Auburn, the way they played Missouri. They're in games every week. The only team to take it to them in the league has been South Carolina. I can see a world where LSU does that tomorrow, where Vanderbilt just has trouble dealing with Will Campbell and Caden Durham, where they have trouble dealing with Kyron Lacey, where Braden Swinson becomes a real issue for them. I can see that world. I can see a world where Vanderbilt jumps out 14-0, and that stadium gets real antsy and starts raining down booze and people leave. Like, I could see just about anything tomorrow. And I'll tell you how I'm approaching this game. And this is a personal thing, certainly not a suggestion of any kind. This is a personal thing. Y'all know, like, when I walk into that stadium, like, my heart's beating. And when LSU's in a close game like they were with Ole Miss this year, like, I can barely feel my legs. Those emotions won't be there tomorrow for me. I'm so fired up for the weather tomorrow to put on a jacket and to do pregame show right outside the stadium. And I'll be excited to get in the stadium because I just always am, even if it's a non-conference game. But my heart rate's not going to be elevated for this thing tomorrow. And that's just me personally. I'm looking forward to hopefully watching the team play well and win the game, because they just haven't done that in a month and a half. But if the players feel the same way I do, I think it could be a problem. And I'm never one of those guys that says, oh, quit talking about that game down the road. The players need to focus. Well, my job's not to be in the locker room and focus. My job's to talk about the big picture here. And I'm just telling you how I'm going to feel. But I'm curious if that's the way that the players will feel. I know how the fan base feels. I deal with the fan base every day. Twitter, Bayou Ford chat, text messages, phone calls, all that. Conversations at the water cooler here. I know how the fans feel. That's not super cool. I'm just curious how the players respond. It's going to be fascinating to see the effort and energy level tomorrow inside Tiger Stadium for LSU and Vanderbilt. Beck, you got a thumbnail on that? I'm going to give my pick at the end of the game. Like, either you can talk about whatever you want. Either the fact that Vanderbilt statistics are jaw-droppingly terrible for a team that's competitive every week, or the energy that LSU needs to provide tomorrow.
Man, I do worry about the energy in the crowd in the stadium for the team. I know that, like, we heard at player interviews, you know, Will Campbell saying there's still a lot to play for. I wonder if the team really believes that. You know, like, I'm not worried about the guys wanting to win the game, but I just wonder if they're really going to be super motivated to go play Vanderbilt when they're 6-4 and they're staring down the barrel of, a 6-7 win season and go into the Pop-Tart Bowl or something like that. Like, I just really don't know. Obviously, we won't know until it happens, but I just worry about it.
It's all about perspective because Vanderbilt's record's worse than LSU, or the same as LSU's, and they're like sky high.
Yes.
And South Carolina's not playing for the playoff, and they're sky high.
Yep.
But LSU 3 weeks ago was talking about, winning a national championship, and now you're like, can they focus on Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
It's just it's just shocking how fast this can happen.
It is.
But here we are. So we'll see how things shake out inside Tiger Stadium. My pick for LSU and Vanderbilt coming up in about 25 minutes from right now. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Tell you this every single Friday. If you're hankering for a po' boy in Baton Rouge, every once in a while you have that feeling. For me, it usually hits on like a Sunday. But if you're looking for a po' boy, check out Corks. That shrimp po' boy is phenomenal. The shrimp are big, juicy, and flavorful. Got that well-dressed. They can handle your sauces as well. Get those crispy shoestring fries. It's a great po' boy, catfish po' boy as well. And they got great crawfish etouffee. Get their famous po' boys. Just said po' boys. Famous baked potato that they top with crawfish etouffee and the jumbo shrimp. It's real good. You can drive through or dine in at their newly renovated dining room. It's on Government Street between Foster and Jefferson. It's Corks. It's corksfishandshrimp.com. We'll step aside, some take it or leave it. My final pick's coming up. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. They're at Airline and PQ near Women's Hospital. Haven't been there for a long time. So if you haven't stopped by the dealership, that's not surprising. If you haven't ever driven a Genesis, that's not surprising either. But if you think luxury vehicle, you need to think Genesis. And if you think luxury vehicle and you immediately say, oh, well, I can't swim in those waters, just look. Genesis is a luxury brand at a reasonable price, and it's an experience to be a Genesis driver. The service aisle there is just first class. I could not say enough about it. I've been on a lot of service aisles in my day. None as clean and efficient and comfortable as the service aisle at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can stop in there, you can get a great cup of coffee, you can get some work done. It's quiet, and the ambiance is fantastic. There aren't kids running around everywhere. There's not prices right blaring all over the place. It's a great place to sit and have your car serviced. If you don't want to do that, I understand. They've got valet service as well. They'll just take your car, bring it in, service it, bring it right back to you. You don't miss a beat on the job or in your day-to-day. It's Corks. I'm looking at this panel. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, get you set up for tomorrow's broadcast schedule here under the Guarantee Media roof. A little bit different in terms of a few minutes this week than our standard because of kickoff time. LSU and Vanderbilt are going to kick off at 6:55 tomorrow. So if you look at the paper or you look at the ESPN app or whatever you may look at and it says 6:45, 6:55 is when they're supposed to kick it tomorrow. So we're going to start our pregame here on Eagle 98.1 from Rouse's Burbank and Lee at 2 o'clock. That'll be Charles Handegriff and Matt Musso, 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock from Rouse's. They'll hand off to me at 5 o'clock. I will go until about 6:30 between the ramps of the Assembly Center over there in the Bud Light fan zone. Appreciate y'all for stopping by and saying, hey, a lot of folks have done that all season long. Always appreciate it. So me, Brandon, and Marlon will be right there getting you ready for kickoff until about 6:30. That's when we'll hand it off to the broadcast team. Chris Blair, Jacob Hester, and Gordy Rush will have the call of the game. 30 minutes after it goes final, me, Brandon, and Marlon back with you on the Fighting Tiger post-game report. We'll go for an hour. 90 minutes after it goes final, you'll find Charles Handegriff and Richard Dixon right here from the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio. Eagle 98.1 Game Day's post-game show, taking your phone call. So from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to probably after 2 o'clock in the morning, it will be wall-to-wall LSU football here under the Guarantee roof. So appreciate you joining us for any and all of that. My final pick for LSU and Vanderbilt are coming up at the bottom or the end of the hour here. But for right now, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All righty, first one here. Indiana will score the biggest win in program history. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I can't go that far. I do think they have a good team, but I think Ohio State's going to beat them by a couple scores tomorrow. It would not surprise me at all if Ohio State won by 24, 28 points. Indiana has not played dudes yet. Now, they have walloped everybody, which is what a good team would do, and I think they're a good team. But I think this is a different level. And there are probably only 6 or 7 teams that I would say Indiana probably shouldn't be on the field with. It happens that one of them is this week, and it's on the road for Indiana. So I think Ohio State wins it comfortably. I would take them and lay the points now as I've looked at this game. But it's a great day for Indiana for them to be on College Game Day and all that kind of stuff. And I'm curious to see how it goes because I think this is a play-in game for them.
All right, next one. Gumbo weather is here. Take it or leave it.
You better believe it at the Palmer House. We'll take it. That's going to happen this evening. There will be some gumbo involved. There will be some cold pops involved. My wife is big gumbo proponent, but I'm just not going to cook it when it's 77 degrees outside. It's just not going to happen. Tonight, weather's dipping down into the low 60s, down into the 50s when the sun goes down. So we'll have some gumbo at the Palmer House tonight. You can book it.
All right, next one here. Jason Kelsey announced that he is going to be hosting a late night sports talk show.
I heard about this.
They Call It Late Night with Jason Kelsey. It's going to be on ESPN. The 1-hour show will tape on 5 straight Friday nights beginning January 3rd, which will coincide with NFL playoffs. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I mean, I'm not going to watch it at midnight, and
No.
I'm not sure what the market for that is, but it's worth a try. I think he's an interesting guy. I think he is a funny guy. I think that because he knows so many people that are also interesting and funny that they can make a good show out of it. I just don't know that it's going to be for me at that time of night.
Yeah, that's a little bit late. All right, next one. LSU lead Pitt 28-27, as we noted at the half. Tigers will get it done. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Why not?
I'll
I'll choose to be optimistic about that. I'm looking at the screen right now, and Pitt has. Oh no, I've fallen way behind here, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to make it live. Yeah, I hope so. I hope they get it done in the second half. This would be a really nice win if they can beat Kansas State on the road and Pittsburgh in a neutral site. I'll really feel like, okay, they've got a solid basketball team. We were not wrong about that, and they've got a chance to compete. Certainly today's 40 minutes of basketball action are not going to dictate the rest of it. If they lose, it doesn't mean they're toast. If they win, it doesn't mean that they can win the SEC. But I think that would really, really show something if through 3 weeks of action they could go away from the PMAC and beat solid Power 5 teams. That would be good. So let's hope so.
All right, next one here. This one's from Taylor Sharp. Daniel Jones will be signed by a playoff team and lead them to a Super Bowl. Take it or leave it.
Define lead them to a Super Bowl. He has to play?
I think he will need
to
play.
We're going to leave that. If he's going to play football, we've got a significant issue because he's bad at playing
Not
football.
very good, it seems.
And most of the time, the Super Bowl teams don't have bad quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave that. I do think someone's going to sign him. That's just a crazy deal. I haven't looked because I don't really care that much at like how bad that cap hit's going to be.
Not good.
But, I mean, that's a bad contract, and somehow they got sucked into one little playoff run where they beat the Vikings. It's a powerful thing, and so the Giants are a mess. And, like, I'm curious how that conversation goes when Daniel Jones gets demoted from the starting quarterback worth $100 million to the fourth-team quarterback on the scout team running safety reps and says, hey, can y'all just get me the heck out of here? But apparently that's what happened, and the Giants were like, yeah, we can do that. Here you go. See you later. That's wild stuff.
We were talking about in the break about Daniel Jones, and I think here's what's going to happen, Hunt. Daniel Jones is going to have a Nick Foles career arc. So Nick Foles, remember, started for the Eagles, went left, came back as a backup, then filled in and won a Super Bowl. I think Daniel Jones is going to leave, go somewhere else. He's going to come back to the Giants, be the backup, and then he's going to win the job and win a Super Bowl with the Giants. What do you think about that?
I think that's not going to happen because, once again, I think he's terrible.
Okay,
so,
well, fair enough.
That's another guy that wasn't even good in college, and they drafted him.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Can you at least draft good college quarterbacks
No.
if you're going to draft one? Just any quarterback will do. That's just nuts. So when we talk about the Garrett Nussmeier thing, it's like these guys are taking Daniel Jones in the first round. They're taking Paxton Lynch in the first round. They're just drafting they're taking E.J. Manuel. I mean, he's got Christian Ponder. These guys were terrible. I don't understand.
All right, last one here. ESPN listed the best freshmen of the last 25 years in men's college basketball, and Ben Simmons was number 19. Take it or leave it.
I have an in-depth answer there.
Let's just look at how he played.
I'm gonna leave it. He was really good at LSU, but he couldn't shoot the ball.
He still can't.
And so, while he was really productive, created a lot of shot opportunities, had a triple-double, distributed the ball, finished at the rim, like he was a really good player. There's a reason he went first in the draft. But I would have to imagine over the last 25 years that I could pick up 19 guys that were more impactful than him.
I immediately thought of Markelle Fultz. Like he was an absolute star for Washington.
Was he a freshman? He was one and done.
Yeah, he was his first, and he went number one overall.
I know. I remember his whole pro thing, but I didn't know that he could have been a sophomore, or junior for all I know. I don't watch a lot of Washington, so that's. Look, I'm sour about the Simmons documentary. I've been upfront about that. I didn't like the insinuation that he was like held captive at LSU. You're talking about a guy who came in, was flying on charter planes to go play in Rupp Arena on ESPN and elevate his profile and play college basketball, which is an incredible opportunity, and did not come from a destitute situation where he was scraping nickels together. And that scene where he's checking his account to see if he can go to Walmart or not rubbed me the wrong way. He had a sister in town, gainfully employed, who can definitely run out to Walmart and pick a few things up for him. And the insinuation that because he was an athlete that couldn't at that time have a job or make NIL money, and that somehow was just a massive indictment on the entire system, rubbed me the wrong way. And I will hold that for probably a long time. But I'm willing to say that and then go to, I watched that guy play almost every game that year. He was very good at basketball. Like, he couldn't make threes, but it was really hard for college kids to guard a 6'9" guy who could put it on the floor, finish at the rim, and pass. So he was good. I just don't know if he was one of the 19 best players in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering about that too. But like I said, yeah. So Fultz was AP All-American first team, averaged 23 points a game. Obviously went on to be the first pick, and then had the injury problems. But I would probably say he maybe had a big. I mean, the team wasn't great, but I'd probably take him over Ben Simmons.
I'm checking the score, LSU and Pitt. Pitt is starting the first punch here in the second half. The Tigers led by 1 entering halftime.
Not a good start.
Yeah, Pitt is now up by 8, and they have not played 3 full minutes of the second half. So that's a 9-0 run to start the half by Pitt. Jalen Reed missed the first free throw, just missed a pair of free throws, which just can't happen. But LSU is up against it a little bit early in the second half against Pittsburgh there at the Greenbrier. Yeah, probably so. That's probably on me. But I'll wear that. They just need to step up and play a little better over the next 5 minutes and cut that lead down. If you want to watch it, it's at cbssports.com or CBS Sports on your streaming or cable package if you've got that. LSU and Pitt up there at the Greenbrier. We've only got one order of business to do, and that is, of course, pick this game between LSU and Vanderbilt. So we'll come back, do that, and get on our way. You're listening to a Football Friday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running things at Boudreaux's for 40 years now. Justin, their son, sales manager, kind of taking the reins there. They're fantastic people, the Boudreaux's. Always enjoy my conversations with them and see Justin out on campus a good bit on game days. Love the Tigers, and they want to help you, give you the peace of mind to know that your power is not going to go out. How do they do that? The Generac Home Standby Generator. Right there from Boudreaux's Electrical. No matter where you are in our listening area, they can service you. They're down there in Napoleonville. You can call them at 985-397-1562. Or here in Gonzales, near the 225-393-89. Give you the easy way every single day, as well as BoudreauxElectrical.com. Every single generator that they sell you at Boudreaux's Electrical comes with a 7 to 10-year warranty. The next power outage is always around the corner here in South Louisiana. We know that. Give yourself the peace of mind to know that's not going to affect you. You can do that with the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. Check them out at BoudreauxElectrical.com. BoudreauxElectrical.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, closing up shop here. Football Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Remember, Football Fridays. I shouldn't even remind you about Football Fridays because they're over. We're not going to be working next week on Black Friday. Jimmy and Charlie will have their show live at lunch from Rufino's, but we will be off the rest of the station. So this is our last Football Friday. So I'll remind you that Matt's coming up with After Further Review from 3 to 6, and then Cade will be on with Louisiana Prep Preview at 6:45, getting you ready for Catholic High and East Jeff. After that game has been called and goes final, they'll be back right here in the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio, getting you all the scores from around the state of Louisiana on Louisiana Prep Scoreboard. Cade and his team have done an awesome job all season long, and it's getting good now in Louisiana. A lot of great playoff action will go down tonight, and Cade will have you covered on all of it. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Been a fun show. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Wherever you find your sound, you can certainly find us. I opened the show talking about my opinion on Bryce Underwood and his flip. That's been a sore topic here over the last 22 hours or so. If you want to catch my reaction to that, you can do it on YouTube, Hunt on LSU. Preston Guy from TigerBait.com was with us at 1:15. Got you ready for an NFL Sunday and a new Saints head coaching candidate potentially at the end of the first hour. You can hear that at Hunt on Saints. SEC picks against the spread. Those better go better than they have been going over the last couple of weeks. I previewed LSU and Vanderbilt at 2:15. And then some take it or leave it. Catch that on demand wherever you find your sound. If you missed it, all right, one more order of business. We got to pick this game. It's LSU and Vanderbilt tomorrow inside Tiger Stadium.
The LSU Tigers. The Vanderbilt Commodores.
My picks have been bad this year. I picked LSU to beat USC. They did not. I picked Ole Miss to beat LSU. They did not. I picked LSU to beat Texas A&M. They did not. I picked LSU to beat Alabama. They did not. I picked LSU to beat Florida. They did not. That's 5 games I've missed thus far. That's not very good math when you consider the fact that LSU played a couple non-conference games in there against teams that can't beat them. So I've been awful. My read has been terrible. I try not to be a blind homer here. But things haven't gone great over the last 3 games for LSU. You're well aware of that. And I've talked a lot over the last 2 days about how I felt a different vibe with this LSU team in player interviews. And we'll see if they can bring a little bit of juice tomorrow. This Vanderbilt team is tough. They are scrappy. Statistically, they're terrible. But on film and then on Saturdays, they're not. They played Alabama off their feet. That was not a game where 2 tipped interceptions went their way. It was not a fluky game. They controlled the time of possession. They controlled it in the running game, and they beat Alabama straight up. They did a great job in playing Texas tight the entirety of the game. Had an onside kick, chance to potentially win that game. They did get hammered by South Carolina, and they're a little one-dimensional on offense. And I think LSU, with some time to prepare, should be able to hold up against that option offense that they've got if LSU wants to come to play. Diego Pavia is an exciting player. He's not an overly gifted player, but he's tough and he makes some really good backyard plays. He doesn't turn the ball over either. And they score points when they get in the red zone. Is LSU's offense ready to turn a page? Can we find this LSU offense that showed up in September and the first part of October? If you do, you're going against one of the worst passing defenses in the Southeastern Conference. You should be able to pick them apart. You should be able to create some explosive plays. LSU knows teams are squatting on them. They've got to do a better job of getting the ball down the field. I think they're going to try to do that some, and I think they'll run the ball with some success. But right now, I think I'm going to go with the team that's been more consistent, the team that I think's playing for more, and the team that's been more complete, quite frankly. That's Vanderbilt. I'm going to pick Vanderbilt to beat LSU in Tiger Stadium, which is not something I was prepped to do in August or really 7 days ago. My final score, Vanderbilt 28, LSU 26. I sincerely hope they prove me wrong coming up on Saturday night because that will be a bleak post-game show, and the mood in this town is real sour right now, and it'll get even worse if you lose a game to Vanderbilt. Maybe I'm just the jinx they need. I've been terrible all year picking games. That was really the point of the preface there. But we'll go with the Commodores, 28-26. Don't let that happen. We'll see what Matt has to say. Maybe he's a little bit more positive. He'll come up for the next 3 hours. As I mentioned, Cade will follow. Hope you all have a great and safe weekend. Hope to see you out on campus tomorrow. If not, same time, same place on Monday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. You never know when there could be a catastrophe for your business. And it comes in a lot of different forms. It could be a hurricane. We can see those coming. It could be a cyber breach. You don't see those coming, and they can be real expensive. Car accidents, they happen. They can get really expensive. If you don't have the proper coverages in place, your business could really be compromised. And if you don't have a great relationship with your insurance broker, because all you do is pick the lowest number on the premium tab when renewal comes around, maybe it's time to reassess that. Call the folks at the Highland Insurance Group or check them out online at HighlandIG.com. Jonathan Carver and his team believe they should be part of your team, just like your attorney is, just like your CPA is. Your insurance broker should be a part of what goes on to protect your business. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in having, the Highland Insurance Group is the call you need to make, the website you need to visit. It's the Highland Insurance Group. They're online at HighlandIG.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with